Welcome back to RV News, your number one source for all things related to currency revaluation, financial shifts, and global economic updates that could impact the Vietnamese Dong, VND, the Iraqi Dinar, IQD, and more. If you're holding Dong, or Dinar, or even just watching from the sidelines, this is the place where you get the unfiltered truth, real-time developments, and powerful insights that others won't talk about. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of this explosive journey. Today, we've got a major alert. The Vietnamese Dong is in the middle of a massive rally in 2025, reaching record highs, and it's raising the biggest question we've seen in years. Is the Iraqi Dinar next? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into everything you need to know right now. Let's begin by setting the scene. Over the past several months, the Vietnamese Dong has made headlines with its remarkable performance in the foreign exchange markets. Analysts and insiders alike are stunned by the pace and power of this rise. Traditionally known for being one of the most undervalued currencies in Southeast Asia, the Dong has often been overlooked by the mainstream media and big-name investors. But in 2025, that narrative has been completely shattered. The Dong's surge is being driven by a combination of macroeconomic reforms, robust foreign investment, and new trade agreements that are boosting Vietnam's economic outlook significantly. So what's happening exactly? First, the Vietnamese government has enacted major banking and monetary reforms aimed at stabilizing inflation, controlling corruption, and improving transparency. These reforms have sparked confidence among global investors and financial institutions. For the first time in decades, the Vietnamese Dong is being taken seriously as a rising currency, not just a speculative hold, but a legitimate investment. Foreign direct investment into Vietnam has surged, with multinational corporations moving manufacturing operations from China to Vietnam, drawn by cheaper labor costs and a stable political environment. These moves have strengthened Vietnam's export capacity and raised the profile of its currency internationally. In April 2025 alone, the Dong appreciated by over 3% against the US dollar, breaking past levels it hasn't touched in nearly 2 decades. This movement is not a fluke. Financial data reveals that central banks in the region are quietly increasing their Dong reserves, and Vietnamese bonds are being snapped up at rates that suggest serious confidence in long-term growth. To put it plainly, the Dong is no longer just a what-if currency. It is now a force to be reckoned with. For holders of VND who've been waiting years, some even decades, for a shift, this moment is beyond encouraging. This is the breakthrough they've hoped for, and it's happening right now. But here's where it gets even more interesting. As the Dong continues to gain momentum, a new wave of speculation has reignited around the Iraqi Dinar. Could the dinar be next in line to surge? This question has suddenly become more relevant than ever. The parallels between Vietnam's and Iraq's journeys are striking. Both nations have struggled with war, internal corruption, and sanctions that held their currencies down artificially. Both countries are rich in natural resources. Vietnam with its manufacturing and agriculture, and Iraq with its vast oil reserves. And crucially, both have governments currently undergoing major economic reform programs with assistance from the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. For years, IQD holders have believed in a coming revaluation or reinstatement of the dinar's true value. While mainstream media has dismissed this as speculation, recent developments are suggesting otherwise. Iraq has made significant progress in stabilizing its political landscape. The government has pushed forward with modernization of its banking infrastructure, implementation of anti-corruption measures, and new oil contracts that are bringing in record revenues. As of Q1 2025, Iraq's foreign currency reserves have surpassed $110 billion, an all-time high. That's a massive war chest, and it gives the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, more leverage than ever to act decisively when the time comes. Moreover, Iraq has begun de-dollarizing at a rapid pace. Earlier this year, the CBI announced a new directive to conduct oil sales in currencies other than the US dollar, including the Chinese yuan and euro. These moves not only strengthen Iraq's independence, but also signal preparation for a major monetary policy shift. Several high-ranking officials, both from the CBI and Parliament, have hinted at a new exchange rate policy coming in the second half of 2025. What that means exactly remains under wraps, but many insiders believe it's the prelude to a rate change, or at the very least, a reinstatement to previous levels. Now, let's connect the dots. If the dong can rise to such heights based on internal reforms and foreign investment, then logically the dinar, backed by one of the largest oil reserves on Earth, has even greater potential once the conditions align. And those conditions, it seems, are rapidly taking shape. Let's not forget that Iraq's exchange rate was once over $3 per US dollar before the 2003 war. The current suppressed rate is a political artifact, not an economic reality. Economists have argued for years that the dinar is severely undervalued when measured against Iraq's natural wealth, revenue potential, and growing fiscal discipline. Adding more fuel to the speculation, we've seen quiet moves among some major US and Middle Eastern banks. While most institutions continue to offer the dinar at its current rate, reports have emerged that off-market transactions are being discussed behind closed doors. Some sources claim that large contract holders and sovereign entities have already received forward contracts at significantly higher IQD values, hinting at a tiered revaluation system that may roll out in phases. Whether this is fact or fiction remains to be seen, but the whispers are growing louder. And in this game, whispers often precede action. Let's bring it back to the average investor, the dong holders who are celebrating their gains, and the dinar holders who are still waiting. What should you be doing right now? First, understand that we are witnessing a shift in the global financial landscape, where underdog currencies are finally being reevaluated based on actual fundamentals, not just political noise. The Vietnamese Dong surge is proof that patience can pay off, and that economic reform, if done right, has real currency consequences. If you're holding VND, this could be just the beginning. Analysts believe that if Vietnam continues on its current path, we could see even more appreciation in the second half of 2025, especially if the US dollar continues to weaken. For IQD holders, the moment calls for both caution and optimism. The signs are pointing toward a potential breakout, but as always, timing is the wild card. While the pieces are falling into place, the decision to officially revalue the dinar lies with the Iraqi government and the central bank, and it may depend on geopolitical developments as well. The fact that other currencies like the dong are rising gives legitimacy to the idea that the dinar's time is near. But smart investors should be preparing now, reviewing their holdings, watching for updates from CBI, and staying informed about international banking signals. Let's also not overlook the impact of digital banking and blockchain technologies. Vietnam has been aggressively adopting digital currency platforms, and there are rumors that Iraq is exploring similar options to digitize the dinar. The move toward central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could be a game changer in how revaluations are handled, providing transparency and instant convertibility once a new rate is activated. This could eliminate the chaos that often follows a major revaluation, making the process smoother for both domestic users and international investors. If Iraq goes this route, we may see a digitally driven RV scenario unlike anything we've experienced before. At this point, it's safe to say the world is watching. The dong's performance in 2025 has stunned experts and triggered a cascade of attention on other undervalued currencies. Financial institutions, hedge funds, and even governments are recalibrating their strategies, reevaluating old assumptions, and reconsidering the power of these long-ignored currencies. The psychological shift alone is massive. Where once the dong and dinar were dismissed as exotic plays or speculative gambles, they are now entering serious financial discussions, and that is a tectonic shift. The big question remains: how will the markets react if Iraq follows Vietnam's lead? And more importantly, will retail holders benefit in the same way large institutions might? There are many who believe a multi-tiered revaluation is the most likely scenario, where sovereign nations, banks, and high-net-worth individuals gain access to a preferred rate before the general public. If true, this underscores the importance of being prepared, informed, and positioned with the right resources to act quickly. Those who wait until after the announcement may miss the window entirely. As we wrap up, here's what you need to know. The Dong's rally in 2025 is real, significant, and possibly just the beginning of a broader monetary shift in Asia. The Vietnamese government's commitment to reform has paid off, and VND holders are reaping the rewards. Meanwhile, the Iraqi Dinar is gaining new traction, with economic indicators, policy reforms, and quiet banking,